Here we have comrade yechury, comrade Prakash Karat, comrade Bose, comrade Vikram Singh. We have at the same time we have the managing director of Leftward, comrade Sudhanma, and here we are going to publish the book named Education or Exclusion. It's a joint publication of Leftward, Student Struggle and Indian Research. So here I like to invite comrade VP Sanu to cite this name. Okay, comrade. We are inviting comrade yechury, Minakkhi, and comrade basu, former Sfi All India leaders, and comrade Sudhanma Deshpande, and so comrade and other people gathering here, this is a joint effort by Leftward and Student Struggle and Jitendra research. So on this national education policy, how it is harmful for our public education and for our country. That is, this book is on this subject. And I am inviting comrade yechury, former SFI All India President, to give a speech here. Former Student Struggle editor also, he was in 70s, he was Student Struggle editor also. So very glad to request him to speak on this book.
Very happy to have
You can please sit down and you can sit and
mics.
Yeah, that's it. To facilitate media coverage.
Well, I'm very glad that this book by Nitesh Dixita is being released today, and this deals essentially with the new education policy 2020 that was ran through the country without any proper discussion. Despite education being in the concurrent list of the Constitution, there were no meaningful consultations with the states and the elected state governments. And it's a completely one-sided effort by the present BJP government led by Narendra Modi to completely transform the Indian education system. The success of their fascistic Hindutva agenda is critically dependent upon destroying the ability to reason on a rational basis, on the basis of rationality, by the youngsters in India, by the students, which is a very important input in creating a democratic and a secular society, which is the outlook and which is the declared objective of the preamble of our Constitution. The destruction of reason and rationality is thus paramount in this entire education policy. And the effort is to replace the study of Indian history, the rich syncretic history of the evolution of Indian civilization through various confluences, cultural confluences, civilizational confluences, through various confluences, this Indian civilization that has developed, instead of permitting the students to study this history, this rich syncretic history, the study of history is being reduced to the study of Hindu mythology. All of history, portrayed from the Prime Minister downwards to everybody of India, is contained in the Puranic stories of Mahabharata and Ramayana. And on the other hand, the evolution of Indian philosophy that again brought together various confluences and streams together and developed into an integral philosophy consisting of 6 ancient Indian schools of philosophy, apart from the influences of Sufism and Christianity philosophy. All these brought together and created what is the philosophical tradition of India. Instead of this philosophical tradition, the students are now being taught Hindu theology as philosophy. Now this is the essence of this new education policy, apart from its commercialization, communalization and its centralization, the 3 C's that we say. Apart from these 3 C's, which deprive access to a large number of students to education. This is robbing the education system of its scientific and democratic content. So I'm glad that various authors have contributed to the impact of this education policy in various sectors, right from the preschool sectors of Anganwadi to higher education. So, I'm glad that various areas that are under the sphere of education are covered, and the impact of this policy on these particular sectors is being discussed separately and in depth. I'm glad that this is come about, but what is most important is for the SFI to build up a powerful movement, not merely among students, but amongst society at large, along with intellectuals, along with various people from various fields, because education affects all. It's not only the student who's studying, but the whole system affects the entire outlook of the country and the civilization as we progress and advance. So I hope that in the coming days the SFI will be able to launch a effective and a powerful movement in resistance to this new education policy. So with these words, this is formally released.
Comrade Prakash Karat, feel free.
You want to shift here?
We'll push it. Comrades and friends, I'm very happy to associate with this book release on the book titled Education or Exclusion. As Comrade Sitaram has explained, we are seeing a complete assault on the democratic and secular character of the education system in our country. In the new educational policy, you have on the one hand the privatization drive, you have the drive to saffronize the education system and to centralize all the control and resources of the education system. I find there is an essay in the book about the saffronization of the educational system. We have always thought of saffronization in terms of the communalization of the educational system, the rewriting of history, the syllabus, textbooks, and so on. But another disturbing trend has developed now, which we had not anticipated. That is the communal targeting of minorities within the education system. You must have read in the newspapers a government-run law college in Indore, new law college. There, the ABVP unit in that college had attacked the 4 Muslim teachers or professors in the university, in the college, and also targeted the principal. And the reason is that the principal is a Muslim, the 4 teachers are Muslim, and they have conducted an agitation and protest saying they are trying to introduce Islamic
extremism on the campus. They are conducting love jihad on the campus. And now all the four Muslim teachers have been suspended and the principal has been forced to resign. And this has happened in a government college. And the Home Minister of Madhya Pradesh has supported the ABVP's complaints, and an inquiry is now being conducted by the Department of Education. So this shows that communalization of the education system is now reaching to this extent in BJP ruled states, where teachers belonging to a minority background or students belonging to minority backgrounds are coming under attack. They are being targeted. In the same Madhya Pradesh, 2 minority teachers in another school have been suspended. Criminal cases have been filed against them. Another teacher has been already removed in another school. The common feature is they're all belong to the minorities. So this is the next level, that you're talking about exclusion here. Exclusion through the new education policy. There's going to be another exclusion coming of minorities in the public educational system, because this is a government-run educational institution. So this is the big challenge before us, and I'm sure that the Students' Federation of India, which is going to hold its All India conference in a few days in Hyderabad, will take up all these challenges and threats and will be able to develop a powerful, united movement of the students all over the country to fight back against this multiple attacks on democracy, on secular education and public educational system. So I think this book will be exceedingly useful for the student community in their coming struggles in the coming days. Thank you.
So, comrade, basu. Well,
I think must welcome all of you from the media and our student comrades here and others. Now, I think it is a very positive development, and it is in the best traditions of the student movement and in particular SFI. At every juncture where there has been major policy onslaughts on behalf of the government in the past, SFI had come out, student movement had come out with policy responses which really distinguished the student movement and SFI from the others. Comrade Sitaram is sitting here. I mean, the SFI at that point in time had produced a booklet which covered the entire gamut of policy issues when Rajiv Gandhi's government initiated a new education policy. Now, this book becomes important. Others have also pointed out certain important things, because this onslaught on education has come in the background of the COVID-induced shutdown. And I think it is not appreciated very widely that education was one sector where the shutdown started earliest and where the shutdown continued till very late. And in fact, the student movement also had to demand for reopening of the educational institutions. So in a situation where physical mobilization of opposition is difficult, in that situation, that policy onslaught, and what Comrade Sitaram has already explained, that without any consultation, not just with the state government, but with any of the stakeholders, teachers, employees, students, no consultation was there. And this attack in terms of NEP 2020, it was also accompanied with something which was also induced by the shutdown, that is a vigorous push for online education. And today you have perhaps the greatest exclusion of students, particularly from poorer backgrounds, from tribal, from Dalit, from minority backgrounds in remote areas of the country, where now government is actually admitting that lakhs of schools are actually closing down. And whatever surveys have been conducted, that in higher education also, there's a stupendous rise in the dropout rate of even college and university. So this twin attack is there through introduction of online education. Finally, Comrade Prakash has actually thrown light on a very important aspect. But I think what is even more dangerous in terms of the saffronization of education is using education as an instrument to redefine the identity of India and Indian citizens. I just briefly refer to the recent circular issued by the chairperson of UGC, which was accompanied with a set of essays authored by this actually pen pushers of Modi, we can say, because it all started with Modi claiming from the ramparts of Red Fort on the 15th of August that India is a mother of democracy, because with growing criticism internationally about the Modi government record in terms of democratic governance, he took upon himself to claim, as he claims on so many other things without any substance or basis, that India is the mother of democracy. And now this book, where they have claimed that even 5,000 years back there was democracy, and it was not elitist. There was no exclusion. I mean, it also is relevant to the name of this book. There was no exclusion. Now, all of us, we know that this entire, and he claims all this is Vedic. They don't even distinguish between the Vedic civilization and the Harappan civilization. We can keep that aside. But the emergence of Varnashram and the persecution of Dalits and other backwards, I mean, is altogether forgotten in terms of the grand vision of democracy from the ancient days that they were describing. So in a way, they have concluded that note by saying that actually dharma holds us together, and law is interpreted as dharma, and actually it is chillingly similar to the writings of of Savarkar and Golwalkar. So and this UGC circular goes to all governors of states, not to elected state governments, but to governors, say that you must hold seminars on this topic of India, mother of democracy, and this must be popularized. So I think there has to be responses to these kind of efforts, and in that we hope that this book will be very useful. And I think what we need today, Comrade Sitaram was talking about resistance, but as part of the resistance, very widespread public discourse must be there about what is really contained in the policy framework of NEP 2020, and already what impact it is. I just mentioned about this marginalization and the closing down of universities and schools, and then dropout rates, etc., etc. So therefore, in that, and this has to be conducted not just by the student movement, but student movement can play a leading role in mobilizing other democratic sections who are involved in the sphere of education, and really launch a counter-offensive and a counter-narrative. Once that captures the imagination of all those who are involved education. I think that will be a major contribution to this approach of building this. That's all.
Friends and comrades, it's with great pleasure that I'm here today because this book is very special to us. I myself used to be a member of the SFI when I was a student, and what attracted me to the SFI was that the slogan of the SFI was study and struggle, and this slogan was not just a slogan in words, it was something that one saw in action. All the leaders that we interacted with, all the activists that we interacted with as young students were as involved in thinking and reading and writing as they were in actually organizing struggles. I'm very pleased that the two young editors of this volume, Dhar and Nitish Narayanan, have spent time and effort and energy in putting together this volume. The majority of the contributors of the volume as well are student activists, and I want to commend them. I want to congratulate the editors and the contributors for the very high quality of articles and essays that are contained in this. I'm sure that this would be a huge resource for the student movement and for the larger democratic movement in mounting a powerful movement against the machinations and the larger designs of creating a Hindu Rashtra, which is a fascistic idea, and I hope that this book will play an important role in mounting that counter-attack and the counter-movement. Thank you very much.
Comrade Narayan.
Friends and comrades, I just wanted to thank all of you for coming here, joining with the student movement to release the book. I also thank all the contributors who made this possible in a very short period. It's a book actually prepared by nonsense by SFI. Not only the present SFI, as Comrade Sitaram once told, once an SFI is always an SFI. There are contributors who are part of the student movement, have gone to different spheres in their life and contributed to this book. And also the cover of this book, the illustration we used, is also a former SFI comrade, Comrade Ashut. He is not here. And the cover design is by Comrade Abhinav. He is here among the audience. And we want to thank all of them. It's a collective effort. We hope in the coming days this book will be picked up by not only the students, the people who believe in democracy, who believe in Indian Constitution, who believes that education is much broader concept and a subject. And they will pick up this book to intensify a struggle, to make a better world, to create a better society for all of us. This book launch is also a launch of book launch, which means the book launch will happen by the Students' Federation of India and students across the country in the coming days. Obviously, this will go to the organizers of the student movement in this country. With that hope, with that future, I thank all of you who are present here, who are not present but who are excited and enthusiastic about this project for making this possible. Thank you.
Comrade, there is nothing much to add. We want to thank everyone for coming for today's program, today's book launch. As Comrade Nitish has already said, that when you are making this book, we had different ideas. That when you are writing something on national education policy, for the first time, I think a student organization, after the release of NEP, has come up with something which is this concise. So we thought there has to be a diversity. There has to be different things represented. If you look at the book, you will see there are articles by academicians. We have Professor Sachidanand Sinha, we have Professor Madhu Prasad, we have Professor Rohan D'Souza, who are writing academically what are the problems of national education policy. We have comrades like Parichay and Oishi, who are two very important leaders of the student movement against the national education policy, against the fee hike. They are writing their experience, that as a student activist, how they saw NEP actually coming and destroying their whole aspiration of being a student. And then we have people, we have researchers who are also student activists, who are writing from their, as a young researcher, what has been their experience. They're dealing with data, they're coming up with numbers. So this is some way a book which is not only about some philosophical idea how NEP is problematic. It has the base of the problematization of NEP in its philosophy. It has some very lived experience, very everyday experience of a student activist of how NEP is affecting them. It also has a lot of numbers, because our governments, they a lot of times say that you have to come up with data, you have to come up with numbers to say how things are wrong. So in this book, we also have all those numbers that actually shows that if NEP is implemented, how the aspiration of the large number of marginalized section in this country, who goes to school, who goes to college, who goes to university, is going to shut down. And last but not the least, we have people like comrade Sindhu, who is a trade union activist by herself, who is actually bringing out that intersectionality, that how labor, how women, and how education system are going to get affected if the NEP is implemented. I hope this book is going to be read by everyone. I hope from our students, from our activists, we are going to get feedbacks and we are going to get reviews. And if there is something that you thought we have missed, we are ready to work on that also. With that, we want to thank again all our speakers and all our the audience who have come and made our program possible today. Thank you.
So, comrades, SFI former General Secretary Comrade Vikram Singh and Kisan Sabha General Secretary Comrade Hananda and all other comrades also here. So, once again, thanking all the people who gathered here, the media person, other SFI comrades, and moreover, leftward. When we take this initiative, that time they were ready to take that book and they printed that book. So this effort become success because of leftward only. So that's why from Central Executive Committee of SFI, we are very much thankful to leftward, especially Sudhanva Deshpande and Comrade Vijay Prasad. Mainly, they helped very much for this book release, for publishing this book, and former leaders of SFI, Comrade yechury, Bhattacharya, basu, and Comrade Sudhanva also present here, and thanking from SFI Central Executive Committee to all the people gathering here, and we are winding up this program. Thank you all.
There is a discount offer for today that the people can get the book for 100
rupees.
300, 200?
Today only.
Yeah.
It actually costs 300. For launching day, it is 100.